Howdy, everyone. Tad Stevens on the Micro Success Secrets podcast, where we focus on business, psychology, and marketing, and how you can use that in your business daily and long term. Today, I'm talking with Kevin Wayne Johnson, who, after 34 years of service in the federal government, is on a mission to help individuals achieve excellence at all levels and empower organizations to serve those in the communities they operate. He conducts engaging workshops, seminars, keynote speeches to transform organizations and the people who work within them. His personal story has molded his passion to work tirelessly to prepare today's workforce for leadership positions. Sorry, I missed that last sentence up. But so you prepare people for leadership. Welcome to the show. Let me know if I missed anything.
Well, thank you so much, Ted. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction, and it's always a pleasure to be with you.
All right, super. So let's get started. So I like to ask this question first because it kind of sets the stage, lets people know a little bit about you and connect maybe a little more. But if you could go back in time, if you had a time machine, you could hop in it, you go back to any point you wanted to, and you could change one business or life decision. First off, would you change it? And second off, if you would change it, what would you change it to?
Good question, Tad, in terms of starting out. I can't really think of anything that I would change, but the one thing that I will add to the question is I wish I had known sooner what I know now. We all kind of go there? It's really amazing, the timing. I look at the timing in the lives of a lot of people who are in business and think back to 1985 when Microsoft started. If I had only purchased
or Apple or any of those
Amazon, etc. If I had only known, but I can't think of anything significant or major that I would have changed. Life is good. Observations and experiences mold us, and each and every one of those are very valuable.
And it's interesting, and I mentioned this because that is the most common answer. And I say it every time I hear it, which is a lot on this show, because I hear a lot of people in my consulting and in my mentoring say, oh, if I'd only, the people that are happy with what they're doing, that are successful in their minds, they're okay with that. But the one thing they all say, well, I would say most of them say, I know I wouldn't change a thing, except I would have done it sooner. Or I wished I'd known it sooner. It's always the sooner thing that comes in. So
absolutely.
Let's kind of look at the same situation. If you could go back in time and you could look and you could find one decision, business or life or combination, that turned out just super positive. And, you go back and you can look at everything that happened before that decision and everything that after. It's kind of like a dividing line. Do you have one of those?
Yeah, I would say in terms of how I started my government career. So 1 year after I graduated, life was kind of tough. I had just broken up with a girlfriend. I quit a job before making sure I had another one to go to. And even though I was very happy and elated that I had just graduated from college, other parts of my life were looking kind of dismal. So I did accept a part-time position with a government agency that actually started my government career. And then 1 year later, actually 1 week after my 24th birthday, I began my full-time career with the federal government. And what came out of that is I listened to my mom. My mom had been a career federal servant and she liked it. I also had two aunts that also would encourage me to go with the federal government, although I wasn't feeling it. And I'm glad I listened to them. And I started my full-time government career 1 year after graduating from college. And it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made.
Okay. So kind of related to that, and sometimes it can be the same answer. What was the decision that was the scariest?
The scariest decision that I made was when I transitioned into mid-level leadership about probably 13, 14 years into my career. I left Washington, D.C. headquarters and accepted a regional chief procurement officer position in the Northeast region, which is downtown Manhattan. Yes, New York City.
Okay.
And it was quite a shock, needless to say. Cultural differences, being raised in Richmond, Virginia, and now I'm, working in the financial district and also Midtown Manhattan.
Hmm.
Just the mannerism, the behavior, the way that people handle their day-to-day affairs was a huge, huge shock. But I stayed there for 6.5 years, learned a lot, grew a lot, and then was able to come back to the Washington, D.C. headquarters area. So that was a very interesting time in my life. I learned a lot of which I still kind of laugh and chuckle about.
Okay, super. So, kind of related to that is, I mean, big decisions are kind of what we do. People that come on this show, I mean, we make decisions every day. I mean, we have to in the work we do and the people we interact with. Um, are there certain tips or methods or techniques that you help people get through struggling with a decision or a situation where they get stuck? I mean, I guess to put it simpler is, do you have tips, techniques, observations, suggestions that help people get through being stuck, around, over, through, however they would do that?
Yeah, Ted. Two things actually come to mind. Number one, I always encourage people during the training time, during the mentoring, during the coaching, I always tell people to look through that lens that you've been looking through for quite a number of years,
Mm-hmm.
but focus more on the big picture as opposed to being narrowly focused. And I also advise them to take a look in the mirror as well. So you're looking at two different lenses. Take a look in the mirror so that you can see yourself and become more self-aware, and
Mm-hmm.
then look through the lens. But when you look through the lens, see the much bigger picture as opposed to the narrow focus. And oftentimes that helps people move out, and they're able to tap into their own potential, and they're able to get, in the words that you used, unstuck, because now they see things a lot differently, and they can
Mm-hmm.
solve a problem and make a decision from a different perspective.
Okay. Yeah. That is great. I mean, that sounds um, a little bit like what I try to do sometimes. I probably don't do it as much as I should, but I really appreciate and really agree with looking in the mirror. I think that has woken me up as much as almost anything else that any type of self-help, self-meditation, is just look at myself in the mirror, and it focuses me that what do I want.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it does help a lot. So, time to wrap up a little bit, and got one last question. And I always like to end with this question, because at the end of the day, well, I'm going to hold off on that, and I'll tell you after the question. But when you get up in the morning, what gets you out of bed? I mean, what's your passion? Why do you get up and do the things you do day in, day out? What's your motivation? As I said, passion. What's it for you?
Well, I, like everybody else, Tad, has dreams, goals, and aspirations. And
Mm-hmm.
all of my life, I've worked very hard toward that goal. As a matter of fact, I always reflect on Dr. Stephen Covey's book that he wrote some 30 years ago, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I focus in on habit number 4, which is begin with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal in life is to put myself in a position where I'm serving others. And it just so happens that the season of life that I'm in, I am pouring into the lives of the current and next generation of leaders by way of training, coaching, and mentoring. That's my
Mm-hmm.
passion. It started at home because my sons are now 23, 24, and 25. It's something that I love to do. So when I'm speaking, when I'm writing, and everything that I do, it's so exciting to get up in the morning knowing that I have another opportunity to serve someone. So that's what really gets me going, and that's what gets me up.
Super. That is an outstanding answer. And thank you very much for sharing that. Time to start to wrap up. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the listeners and viewers with that would benefit them?
Well, I would always remind people that you and I do not live on an island by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We need each other. We need fellowship. We need companionship. We need partnership. And we need to not only pour into the lives of others and share with them our observations and our experiences, but we also need regardless of what you do and regardless of your gender, your ethnicity, or your age, we need somebody to pour into our lives as well. So be open and receptive for advice and coaching and mentoring that comes from others, and recognize and acknowledge that we don't have all the answers. So I always think about the team concept, TAD, TEAM, together, everyone achieves more. That's my mantra that I live by. That's what I always share with everyone in my sphere of influence.
Okay, that is great. I'm going to make sure that that makes it into the show notes, and we have a link in the description, because I haven't heard that one. That is neat.
Absolutely.
And also, if you're okay, I'll put your contact information, your website, LinkedIn profile in the show notes and in the description, wherever we post the video and the audio.
Wonderful.
Thank you again very, very much for sharing. And thanks everybody for listening in. Have a very safe and productive week, and be the very, very best at whatever it is you're doing. Until next time, this is Tad Stevens with Micro Success Secrets. Bye for now.